Just press the Let's Go Live button. And so we know what that means. We've got to wait for the stream to fire up all across the fruited plain of the internets. Before we go ahead and get started, it's a beautiful Wednesday. I'm glad that you are here and joining us and with us. Before we dive into it, let's make sure the tubes connect themselves. Otherwise, I can be rambling off here into oblivion without anybody on the other end. And we don't like when that happens. But it looks like we're connected, and it happened quickly today, which I'm happy about. So that means we can get started. Let's go ahead and do it, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live, the show that spotlights misconduct involving police, prosecutors, and politicians. My name is Robert Govea. I am a criminal defense attorney, and today we're talking about Donald Trump's civil fraud trial and the fact that he is going to be prohibited from even participating in the closing arguments. Doesn't even get a statement because Judge Engoron, Areola, and his Greenfield, Allison, they were in an exchange back and forth with Trump's defense team. And this is fun because we are scheduled for closing arguments tomorrow on Thursday, January 11th. And Trump was ready to go and communicate his position as, you know, the defendant in the case. And so there's this email chain going back and forth. Judge Engoron, the Areola, the bonus torso, he came out and said, sorry, I'm not debating this. Sorry, your mother-in-law died. I don't care about Melania's mom. You're showing up, and unless you agree to testify according to Judge Engoron's little, communist script here, Trump needed to say a certain thing, and then he could testify. But Engoron was basically trying to, compel his speech, and there was a spicy back and forth, and we're going to go through all of it. We'll also take just a quick look at the closing brief that was submitted by Donald Trump and his team. Of course, the arguments are going to be taking place tomorrow. Trump is not going to be participating, according to the judge. And this is going to be interesting. I mean, I think, the judge is obviously going to rule against him and against his businesses. The penalty is yet to be revealed. And so I'm sure it's going to be pretty significant. We'll see what Trump says in response, but it's a very technical closing brief. And so we'll only hit some of the highlights on it. But then Trump came out, issued a response to all of this, and we'll listen to see what he has to say in response about all of these weaponized onslaughts, all of this lawfare being brought out against him. Then in our second segment, we're going to see what's going on with Big Fani Willis, who got weighted by her special counsel. And there is new news on this. Apparently, Fani has been subpoenaed to testify in Nathan Wade's divorce proceeding. Oh, no. So, of course, the improper relationship is alleged to be with Nathan Wade, the special counsel who's paid over $1 million, the special counsel who met with White House counsel for 16 hours, got paid $4,000 for that before the indictment was ever filed. Remember, Donald Trump's indictment was filed on August 14th. Fani met with Kamala February 22nd. Okay, before the indictment. So Fani went and hung out with Kamala at the White House, and Nathan Wade, the special counsel, he was somebody who met with the White House counsel on two separate dates, both again before the indictment ever took place. So we'll refresh our recollection on those stories. This confirms Newt Gingrich's theory that the White House counsel, somebody gave Fani a call and said, we need you to indict on Monday, like get the indictment going. Turns out she did, and it explains why this case is so bad, essentially, why 4 different co-defendants have all gotten diversion deals, okay, because there is no actual case here. It's just a political hatchet job to try to bog Trump down before the election, and then who cares what happens after that. But Congress is demanding some answers from the Biden administration. They're saying, yo, if you have been meeting with Fani and you've been meeting with Wade, maybe they went up there together, at different times, who knows. But Congressman Gooden, he is demanding answers from the Biden White House, saying, why are they showing up on your lawn? Then we're going to wrap it up with Alina, Habba, who's going to be in the House, explaining her take on the whole saga. And then, of course, lastly, but not leastly, the big show of the day, Hunter Biden violates the subpoena yet again. Same subpoena, still in full force and effect, I would imagine, but Hunter showed up in Congress and walked right out of there. It was a wild scene this morning. We talked about it as it was breaking. at watchingthewatchers.locals.com, our members-only community platform where we're doing our morning live stream. But Hunter just kind of waltzed into Congress today, taking his sweet time, going right through security, hung out with the Oversight Committee. Nancy Mace obliterated him, said no one's above the law, even though Hunter kind of is. Marjorie Taylor-Green dug into him, and then I've got several different angles of Hunter exiting the courtroom, because as soon as Marjorie Taylor-Green came to the microphone, Hunter just kind of packed it up. He said, all right, I don't want to see any more of my nudies, so I got to get out of here. So they packed it up, and he exited. A lot of different, scenes there. Reporters were just brutal today. I loved it. This one from Fox was saying, Hunter, why do you talk to Joe about business? And then Hunter, had a nice conversation with her. So we'll get to that. We also had Byron Donalds had a fun line today saying none of this is about white privilege. It's about another kind of privilege, which you know what that is. And then Abbe Lowell, Hunter's lawyer, he made a full statement about the whole matter. And Hunter got asked some questions by the media, like this one that's very pertinent, of course. What kind of crack do you smoke, Hunter? Do you have a preferred blend when you are imbibing? And so we'll have a lot of fun digs at them today, no doubt. But we've got 3 beautiful segments today, my friends. As you can see, Hunter went to Congress, Fani got served, and Areola Engoron, the bonus torso, he is now prohibiting Trump from even speaking during closing arguments. And so, as you can see, we've got a lot to get to today, my friends, and I'm glad that you are joining us. It's a beautiful Wednesday. I hope your week is rocking and rolling out there. We had a great members-only stream this morning. For our YouTube members and our locals fam, watchingthewatchers.locals.com, we do members-only stream in the morning. We do Saturday streams, and we've got a lot of fun stuff that's happening there. So come check it out. An amazing community, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. And if you join us as a member on YouTube, don't forget that you can grab the private Telegram group. After the show is over here, we do retire back to locals for a members-only after-party stream. And so come and join us on YouTube. Go to the community tab section on YouTube, scroll down, grab the Telegram link. It's a members-only link, and we'll see you there on the after-party. We've also got robertgovea.com, which is our website. We'd love it if you went over there, signed up for our newsletter. You can see when you go there, all you got to do is just click this button. It's going to pop up. You can sign up for it. And then you're going to get these show reports delivered to your inbox every single day that we do a show. All of this goodness summarized, sent to your inbox. If you want the PDFs, they're also available on the website. You can see all the red lines that we go through on the show. We upload to robertgovea.com. And so you can download the docs, share the channel with your friends, forward the emails to everybody you've ever met in your email. And we'd love if you did that. So that is where you can go, robertgovea.com. Now, let's get into the meat and potatoes on the day, because we've got some Engoron business to review. Here's where we go. Judge Engoron, aka the bonus torso, he is now prohibiting Donald Trump from even participating in his closing arguments. If you thought that this courtroom wasn't a big enough circus, well, now Donald Trump has made a request, notified the court that he's going to be participating in closing arguments, but Engoron said no. You're not allowed to testify unless you comply with what I want you to say, unless Trump does exactly what Engoron says and says this and says this and says this before he speaks. He's not going to be allowed to speak. Now, we're going to go through this because closing arguments are just around the corner, and Trump is responding to this. It's like a preemptive gag. He's gagged from even closing his arguments, providing closing arguments. And it's just more par for the course nonsense out of this. And we're going to have closing arguments, and then Judge Engoron is going to issue a ruling, and no doubt it's going to be adverse to Trump. The question is, can these procedural problems, can these rubs be appealable? Can Trump appeal this issue as the next level court in the Court of Appeals? They're going to do anything as a result of it? Who knows? But this is what it looks like. This is what the circus freak show is like in New York City. So here is the judge. Now, this is an email chain. It's 10 pages long. And we're going to start by going back to January 3rd. Happy New Year. Who sent this email? Trump closing arguments are right around the corner. They're scheduled on the 11th. And so the email comes from you-know-who. Allison Greenfield, okay, the judge's chief principal law clerk, the same woman that Engoron has, some sort of weird thing with. I don't know what's going on there, but in my opinion, these two have a much closer relationship than normal judges and principal law clerks, okay, whatever that means. She is sitting on the bench, literally next to him on the same level. They're looking at the same screen. When Trump's defense team was asking about her, Judge gagged them, said, "Don't you dare talk about my Greenfield." She was passing little, court love notes, say, do this, do that, whatever. We don't know what's in the notes. When they were wanting to get recordings of this, they moved the cameras, okay, so that you couldn't see what these two were doing. I don't know what they were doing. Some people speculate. Maybe they were playing footsie there under the bench. I don't know. But it seems suspicious when they don't want you to see what they're doing, what they're talking about. The question is, who is actually the judge on the case? And so she's the one who is authoring a lot of these emails. And people have been saying maybe she's the one who's been actually governing the trial because Engoron's not that bright. And so let's take a look at who is ultimately starting off this email chain. You see, it says here from Allison Greenfield, the judge's GF. And he sent this to everybody, okay? Tishy's office, Alina, Abbe's on here, and a bunch of lawyers, okay? Everybody on the case. Says, okay, closing arguments, everybody, are scheduled on January 11th. You see Allison Greenfield, the principal law clerk to Judge Engoron. Says, dear counselors, I write to advise you that we will be back in courtroom on January 11th for closing arguments. Now, however, as the NRA trial will have already started, the courtroom is going to be set up a little bit differently than it was for trial testimony. Now, I've copied Rob on here, not me. I wish. I have a nice response for them. But I've copied Rob on here so that you may clear any tech questions with him. I would say, can you turn the cameras back on so we can see your little footsie games, please? Now, additionally, Judge Engoron would also like to know how many people and who will be speaking for each side. And obviously, Donald Trump's like, oh yeah, I got something to say to you guys. And how much time each person wants. And please keep in mind, we only have one day. Thank you. Allison Greenfield, the judge's GF. Now, this goes out, and the government responds. KCW writes response. They say, Miss Greenfield, at this time, we anticipate the closing argument for Tishy's office will take an hour and will be conducted by one person from the team. It's going to be either me or Mr. Amir. Now, that estimate could change depending on the arguments from Trump's team in their proposed findings of fact and their conclusions of law and in their closings. Now, this is also based on an assumption the closing arguments will follow standard practice, with the defense going first and the plaintiff presenting second. Now, if any of those assumptions are incorrect or if more time is required, we might divide up the argument. 20 minutes here, 20 minutes after for rebuttals, whatever. Now, we will let the court know if we think that becomes necessary. We also anticipate other members of our trial team could address specific questions from the court if they involve areas of their expertise. Regards, KCW. Okay, pretty benign. Nothing really interesting there. Greenfield says, okay, thank you for your response. The court is currently operating under the assumption that we're going to follow the normal practice. Defense goes first, plaintiffs go last. And plaintiffs go last, because they've got the burden. Well, we will, however, wait to hear back from the defense. Signed, Allison Greenfield, the judge's GF. Okay, so the defense is thinking, okay, here we go. Christopher Keese responds. Now, he doesn't have time for capitalization, okay? He's a serious defense attorney. He says, look, Miss Greenfield, Happy New Year, exclamation point. At this time, the defense anticipates the closing arguments are going to take about 2 hours, maybe 2 hours, 15 minutes total. Chris says, I will present more extensive argument, and then Miss Abbe and Mr. Robert will also present more limited arguments. Now, additionally, President Trump plans to present arguments at closing as well. You see that one? Just slide that in there. President Trump is going to he's going to say something. But we anticipate that all such arguments will be completed within the above time estimate. Just so you know, now as a practical matter, this means the defense will be done before lunch break, leaving ample time for the Attorney General the remainder of the day, so they can have all the time in the world. Please advise if you have further questions. Thank you. Very simple, okay? They want 1 hour. Trump's people want 2 hours, 15 minutes. Very quick. Keese is in there. Abbe's in there. Robert's in there. And Trump wants to come, close it out. No problem. Happy New Year, Miss Greenfield. Here's the response. Oh, gosh. Andrew Ammer, special counsel. Yeah, right. From the Office of the Attorney General from Tishy's office says, uh-oh. And this fires right back. So this goes out January 4th from Chris about lunchtime, 12:47 p.m. They respond 5:13. Okay, same day. So about 4 hours later. They say, all right, Judge Engoron. And they're responding to him and to Greenfield. They say, all right, everybody. Letitia Tish, she opposes Trump's plan to have Mr. Trump present any portion of their closing argument. Government objects. Trump can't speak. They say Mr. Trump is not permitted to do so as a matter of right. He doesn't have the right to do this. Saying under these laws, under these rules, that if a party appears by attorney, such party may not act in person in the action except by consent of the court. CPLR, it's, some commercial practices, whatever it is, right? They're in like this weird subset of New York law. If you're in this commercial litigation, well, if you're not except with consent of the court. Okay. So Judge Engoron, you need to give him permission. Even in criminal proceedings where the Sixth Amendment and the state constitution afford the right of a right to counsel or self-representation, they do not guarantee a right to both. Either it's a right to counsel or right to self-representation. And these are separate rights. And so there is no right to hybrid representation. So by accepting counsel, they say, Trump assigns control to the lawyer, who by reason of training, and so accordingly, a defendant who chooses to defend himself doesn't get permission by matter of right to present closing arguments. But nevertheless, the court has the power and the exercise of its discretion to grant a specific application for limited participation of a defendant as counsel, but only when doing so is not going to disrupt the orderly administration of justice. And allowing Trump, they say, to present even a portion of Trump's closing argument would do both. The court has already found that Mr. Trump is prone to giving irrelevant speeches. He lacks self-control, they say. He's evasive in responding to the questions and has repeatedly violated court orders for which he's already been sanctioned. Remember that. And by the way, they also gagged the lawyers. Okay, so Trump can't talk about the judge's GF, his Greenfield, and also the lawyers can't talk about it, which is insane because they have to make a record representing their client, especially when they're passing love notes in court. So allowing Mr. Trump, they say, to present closing argument will invite more violated court orders and will invite more speech that will disrupt us. And moreover, Trump had the right to present testimony on his case when he was on the stand, but elected last minute to do so during their presentation in case he chose not to take the stand. But they say, so allowing Trump to participate now in closing arguments would grant him the opportunity to testify without being subject to cross-examination, thereby depriving the people of a fundamental right of prejudice, especially in light of the court's prior determination that Trump is not a credible witness. And so they say Mr. Keese's email should be treated as an application to allow Mr. Trump to present closing argument, and as we detailed, it should be denied. So Trump should not even be allowed to speak. Andrew says it's going to be disruptive to our proceedings. And so Judge Engoron says, oh, perfect. I hate Trump. So here, let me respond to this. Says, dear counselors, Engoron, he fires this back at 1:18 p.m. the next day. He's up all night thinking about it. He says, in the email to which this email responds, Mr. Keese announced, this is kind of like an order, that Trump plans to present an argument at closing. Engoron, the areola, says if a party appears by attorney, then the court must grant consent. And they say, well, obviously, Trump appears by attorney. And so thus, and as far as my research has revealed, like whatever, Judge, whether he may present a closing argument is completely at my discretion. So Engoron now has the discretion to let him speak. He says, particularly in a non-jury trial, like a circus freak show like this is, I am inclined to let everyone have his or her say. No, you're not, because you've repeatedly gagged everyone. Now, moreover, the more reasoned analysis I receive, the better I will be able to decide this case correctly. And furthermore, Mr. Trump is the person by far with the most at stake in this enforcement action. So Engoron says, and he's writing this email 1:15 p.m., whether a shirt is on, I don't know. Thus, in my sole discretion, I will consent, listen to this, to let Mr. Trump make a closing argument if, and only if, through counsel by 1/9/2024 and by himself personally and on the record just before he speaks. In other words, Donald Trump, before he gets up there to participate in his closing argument, Trump has to say these words. He agrees verbally, Trump on the record, Trump agrees, he says, yes, Your Honor, I agree to limit my subjects to what is permissible in a counsel's closing argument, which is commentary on relevant material facts that are in evidence and application of the relevant law to those facts. And Trump says, I know I may not introduce new evidence, and I know I may not testify. I know I may not comment on irrelevant matters, and in particular and without limitation, I may not deliver a campaign speech. And I may not impugn the court, the staff, the plaintiff staff, which is Tishy, or New York court system, none of which is relevant to this case, and all of which, except commenting on my staff, can be done, is being done in other forums, right? So like he says, right, Trump and through his counsel, so the lawyer and Donald Trump have to say all of that garbage before he even speaks, is how I'm reading this. And himself personally on the record, just before he speaks, he must agree to that. Now, I don't know if the judge is going to want him to like, do you agree to this? Do you agree to this? You agree to this? You agree? Or if he's just going to say, Trump, are you familiar with the document your attorney signed, which includes all of that? I don't know. But that's a lot, right? He can't say anything. And by the way, the whole system is, garbage and rigged. And so that's why that would be a part of your closing argument. This is all sham. It's all a political prosecution. It's not even legitimate. And so, Judge, if you find against me, obviously you're enabling an illegitimate prosecution that's a weaponized attack against a political enemy. You can't say any of that, right? So, look at all these conditions. Can't testify, can't comment on irrelevant matters, can't deliver a campaign speech, can't comment on my staff, blah, blah, blah. If Mr. Trump violates any of these rules, I will not hesitate to cut him off in mid-sentence and admonish him. And if he continues to violate the rules, I will end his closing argument and prevent him from making any further statements in the courtroom. If he violates the gag order against him and the current one, which is talking about his GF's love notes, I will immediately direct court officers to remove him from the courtroom, and I will fine him not less than $50,000. Woo! Finally, he must state on the record before he begins to speak that he also understands that, in addition to all that other garbage, without exception, that the defense collectively have only from 10:15 to 12:45 with one 15-minute break, meaning that whatever time he speaks is time that other defense attorneys will not have. And says that Tishy is also going to get 2 hours and 15 minutes from 2:15 to 4:30 p.m. to present their closing arguments. And so if Mr. Keese, if your client is willing to agree to all of that and to just read my little commie manifesto on the record in my courtroom, then he can say whatever he wants, which is basically nothing. It's like a joke, right? Okay. So Mr. Keese says, Engoron, please respond. So Keese is like, the heck is going on here? So he responds. He says, Your Honor, Engoron, thank you for your response and the proposal below. He says, first, I agree that in a non-jury trial, and especially this trial, your inclination to let everyone have his or her say really is the best approach. Also agree that the more reasoned analysis you receive, the better you're going to be able to decide the case correctly. And additionally, says Trump's lawyer, and as you note, Trump has by far the most at stake in this enforcement action. Therefore, allowing him to make a statement is not only the best course of action, it's the fair and the correct approach. However, Areola, Trump cannot agree, nor would I recommend he do so to the proposed preconditions and what is that word? Prior restraints on his free speech. Christopher says, okay, Judge, now as an initial matter, under the present circumstances where the AG seeks the unconscionable and the draconian penalty of prohibiting Trump, who has contributed both professionally and personally to the economic development, job growth, real estate footprint for 50 years, from ever again engaging in any lawful business, even though the evidence in trial established he did nothing wrong, it's crazy. Given the same, he most assuredly should be accorded the opportunity to address the court. And further, the preconditions and the prior restraints that you proposed on us are fraught with ambiguities, and they create a substantial likelihood for misinterpretation or unintended violations. For example, the notion that he could not comment on the AG that you put in there, like the plaintiff, is simply untenable. What? As a prosecutor. Moreover, given the history of these proceedings, agreement that such ambiguous limitations will no doubt simply create further disagreements. And so he says, therefore, while as noted, now I agree with your stated conclusions, like I agree totally with you, Judge, that the fair and best approach is to allow him to make a statement, as you admitted, he cannot agree to the proposed limitations and the prior restraints. The existing gag order, although on appeal, it remains, but there should otherwise not be any prior restraints on any statement he provides at closing. Judge, please advise as to whether you will permit Trump to speak at closing without the proposed limitations. Thank you, Judge. Respectfully, Chris. In other words, not going to work for me there. Engie. He continues. Now, Engoron responds. We got a nice response here. So Christopher Key sent his January 9th, 11:10 a.m. Engoron's furious. He's like sitting there over his lunch. Allison's sitting there probably too. And he responds. Christopher Key's copying everybody else. He says, okay, dear Mr. Keese, you and your client's rejection of the reasonable and normal limits, that's normal, I am imposing on any argument by Trump, which are the same limit that the law imposes on anyone making a closing argument. Really, they have to hop on a balance beam or else they get penalized by $50,000 fines. Is it really the same? It completely justifies the need to impose them. Oh my gosh. So the fact that you're rejecting what I just gave to you shows why we need them, because you guys are just ornery and stubborn and combative. Closing arguments are for an advocate to comment on the evidence presented, on the relevant law, and on how the latter applies to the former to justify the result. Now, such arguments may not be used to testify, to make campaign speeches, to introduce new evidence and other things. And I got a bunch of case law to support that. Now, anyone can comment on the arguments of the opposing party or counsel, but may not seek to impugn their character. Now, again, he's like creating all these new standards. What does that mean? Now, of course, I will apply common sense, right? There it is. Like he's not referencing, I will apply my common sense if there's any issue or doubt. We don't trust your common sense. You're already covering up your footsie game with Greenfield. But I will not let anyone, he underlines, violate the normal rules of courtroom procedure that govern closing arguments. And so the limitations I am imposing in my absolute discretion are not subject to further debate. Engoron tells Christopher Keese, take it or leave it, buddy. And please let me know which by 4 p.m. today. 4 p.m. today on January 9th. Now he says, Mr. Keese, not having heard from you or any other defense attorneys by the 4 p.m. deadline pursuant to the law and to the reason stated below, Mr. Trump may not speak in court during this Thursday's closing arguments. Now, in order to preserve the record for appellate review, I'm going to docket this email chain, and they did, which is where I got it. Signed by Judge Engoron. So Trump is banned. Now, Engoron, Christopher Keese says, Judge, I apologize. I didn't see your deadline. Additionally, my client is in the air, so I have not yet been able to discuss your email with him. Would therefore request you allow until tomorrow morning for any response. Okay, so here, let's go back. He sent this. Where did he send the deadline? Yeah, okay. So it was 4 p.m. today, right? 4 p.m. today. He sent the email at 1:23. Punk. Gosh. What a punk. Like, the dude is in a meeting. He gets out. He's like, what? 4 p.m. today. You can't respond to that. So he gives him like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And he said, I didn't see your deadline. Trump is in the air. We got other stuff going on. Jerk. So can you please extend it? So Engoron says here. So Christopher says that. Can you please give it until tomorrow morning? Let me look at it, for crying out loud. So then we pause and pay our respects to Melania's mother, because unfortunately she passed away. May she rest in peace, in prayers to the Trump and Melania families. Saying here, on January 9th, Christopher Key sends an email to the judge saying, Judge Engoron, I am sad to advise the court that Mrs. Trump's mother passed away this evening. And because of the challenges presented by this deeply personal family member, President Trump has asked, and I request, that the court postpone the date for closing arguments until on or after January 29th, so that he may attend and participate in the court proceedings. He's got a mother-in-law, the mother of his wife, passed away. Kind of an important one. You got to be there for that. Respectfully, Christopher Keese. What does the judge say? Dear Mr. Keese, next morning, 8:48. He responds, sorry to hear the sad news. The request to postpone tomorrow's closing arguments is denied. Now, I'm sure you realize, although you may not realize to what extent, that every appearance of Mr. Trump requires court officers, court clerks, administrators, security details, and technical people to rearrange their schedules to plan for the day. The administration even had to, quote, evict the jury trial currently taking place in room 300. Now, of course, I am also anxious to hear a full day of closing statements as I consider the case as a whole. So he's like, I really want to do this. Okay, I'm anxious. I really need you guys in here. Sorry, your mother-in-law is now dead. I don't care. I really want to get this done. See you tomorrow. On balance, going forward makes the most sense. Please tell Mr. Trump that I'm sorry. I still hope and expect to hear from you by 11 a.m. this morning as to whether all this is even an issue. Is Trump going to come? Is he going to testify? What's your position, Judge Engoron? So they carry on. He says, Judge Engoron, despite the fact that his mother-in-law, Melania's mom, rest in peace, who he was very close to, despite the fact that she passed away late last night. This was on January 10th, today. She died last night. President Trump will be speaking tomorrow. He's going to show up into your disgusting courtroom and be here, and he's going to deliver his closing arguments. So the judge says, Dear Mr. Case, as I have already indicated to you, if Mr. Trump wishes to speak pursuant to the law, you will have to tell me now, that Trump will agree to the limitations that I have opposed, which go without saying and apply to everyone, and he will have to agree to do so tomorrow on the record, which should take no more than a minute or two. Because he's going to, like, the judge is going to hit him with a list. You can't do this. You understand? Any of that, okay? You have to tell me right now, is he agreeing or not? And he sent that at 10:57 a.m. on today. Tell me right now! Allison sitting right next to him is like, you have to be more firm, Judge. Like, be firm. Like, you're tough. He's like, yeah, let me put in capitals. Capitalize it. So Christopher Key says, Your Honor, Justice Engoron, this is very unfair, Your Honor. You are not allowing President Trump, who has been wrongfully demeaned and belittled by an out-of-control, politically motivated attorney general, to speak about the things that must be spoken about, period. Not even a goodbye or anything. This is very unfair. He sends that back at 11:40. That deadline is now passed, hasn't it? Christopher, the judge responds, he says, "Dear Mr. Case, I won't debate this yet again. Take it or leave it. Now or never. You have until noon, 7 minutes from now, to respond. I will not grant any further extensions." Caps lock. Justice Engoron. Right now until noon. Now, Mr. Keese didn't respond. Get out of here. So Engoron responds back. And he says, "Dear Mr. Keese, not having heard from you by the third extended deadline, which was noon today, I assume that Mr. Trump will not agree to the reasonable lawful limits that I have imposed as a precondition to giving a closing statement above, and beyond those given by his attorneys, and that, therefore, Trump will not be speaking in court tomorrow." Now, as I previously indicated, this email chain is going to be docketed, and you can appeal it. Judge Engoron. And that's the end of the chain, my friend. So, Judge Engoron, in his discretion, says no to Trump, copying everyone on there. Trump will not be speaking, according to the judge. We'll see what happens tomorrow. I'm sure that Christopher Keese is going to throw a very big fit about that, as he should. Now, let me just show you briefly what is inside the civil fraud closing brief by Donald Trump, because there will be closing arguments tomorrow. I'm hopeful there is a nice X thread, courtesy of somebody who is there. But this is what they'll be arguing. Now, this is a very financial case, so this is not an interesting closing brief. But let me just show you what's inside. So it says here, closing brief, proposed conclusions of law by Trump and everyone else, the Trump Organization, and so on. You see the table of contents, which we normally fast forward through, but I'll just show you what's inside because it's quite technical. They say the New York claims are time barred, right? That the statute of limitations really doesn't apply. It bars a bunch of stuff. The clear and convincing evidence standard applies. The AG has not met her burden on materiality, not met her burden on intent. There's no establishment of a conspiracy. The remedies she seeks are insane. The Attorney General has gotten no evidence of ill-gotten gains, and so on. And so let me just show you what is happening. We'll fast forward and look at some of the technical language that is inside. They say, all right, here, the New York claims, here are some conclusions. So it's not actually even written like a nice closing argument. It's just kind of conclusions of law. They say here, claims are dismissed on the extent that they're time barred, right? All of these say that the AG's novel theory, the reason they were able to keep going all the way back was because they said every time there was a new false financial statement, it reset the statute of limitations. And they say that's ridiculous. The AG's claims are therefore only timely with regard to two items, the OPO loan and the 40 Wall Street loans. Everything else is not permissible. And the judge says, well, I don't really care about the statute of limitations because what I want to do is consider the totality of the circumstances, right, in order to make my decision. And I need to know everything from no matter how far it goes back. They say here also, they want Tishy, she's asking that Trump be prohibited from engaging in any businesses, right? Like he cannot be permitted to do business in New York. That's not responsive to a loss of money, right? If Trump, made money by ill-gotten gains, it's a money problem. She wants to prohibit him from doing any business at all because she's saying the fraudulency is so, broad and so pervasive. And so there's a lot of case law being cited here. They say there was unequivocal and unrebutted evidence contained in credit memos that establishes that DB conducted its own independent analysis and relied on that analysis and not Trump's. There were no mispayments. The testimony of Flemings and others say that these statements are intended for users and not for preparers. And also, the very first note to the SFCs, which was prepared by Trump, or the trust, not Mazars, provides in part, it says, considerable judgment is necessary to interpret these things. And so, there were disclaimer clauses like, hello, do your own due diligence before you rely on anything in these statements. They say Tishy Latish James has not met her burden on materiality, that were these financial statement problems that she alleges, were they actual material? There's no testimony that the banks would have done anything differently. The onus is on the lender, the person who sends the money out, to determine what's material. No bank or underwriter says that they were materially misled by any of this. And so Tishy hasn't met the standard. Evidence shows that DB gave significant weight to Trump and his experience in real estate. He had private clubs and a lot of other assets. And so DB did their own due diligence. They decided to do business. There's no evidence in the record to say that DB would have foregone these transactions with Trump. And saying that Tishy has failed to establish that any person claimed to have been misled by the financial statements. Everybody came in and testified to support this. And there's no evidence to say the city, even New York, would have foregone its transaction with Trump. Everybody wanted to do business. There's no evidence that Zurich would have foregone their relationship as well. Saying that Tishy also has failed to show that there was any actual intent to defraud. Evidence shows that they relied, the banks, on their own independent valuations. And she cannot rely on this summary judgment to make this claim. There's no evidence that anybody had the requisite intent to defraud anybody, meeting the standards that are required under the law. Trump did not have fraudulent intent. There's no clear evidence to the contrary. Weisselberg didn't. No one did. They were all trying to comply with the generally accepted accounting principles. And so appraisals vary significantly. It's up to the banks. And so Tishy has failed to establish clear and convincing evidence that there was any actual fraud here. Established that there was no conspiracy. Testimony from this guy, Patrick Burney's, inadmissible. Multiple layers of hearsay to keep certain evidence out. And the remedies that Tishy wants are inappropriate, trying to disgorge him of everything and to disqualify him from doing business in New York. Case law reinforces our position, and the AG is requesting disgorgement, and it's really amounting to punitive penalties. And so, as you can see, right, a lot of this is quite technical, a lot of case law. We're fast forwarding through a lot of just copy and paste case law from the U.S. Supreme Court, saying these sanctions mandate that Trump forfeits his businesses. These are improper. They are punishment against Trump, and they cannot be reviewed as solely remedial. It's not balancing the scales. It is creating a massive penalty. This is not criminal law. The sanctions are explicitly intended to deter Trump's future conduct, not to compensate New York for the fraud. And they're grossly disproportionate to the purported offenses. Even if Tishy had proven Trump's conduct, which he didn't, there was no harm to the public at all. The transactions at issue were complex. They were bilateral business deals between Trump and the banks, none of which involved an impact on the public or the public market in any way. It's undisputed that the lenders profited from the transactions. They made money. No entity has identified any wrong or lodged complaint with the New York Attorney General at all. All loans were repaid in full. There were no defaults, nor did any witness from a single institution testify that they would have done anything different if they knew what it knows now. Beautiful paragraph there, right? The whole thing is just a giant political attack, saying that all of these assessments and a disgorgement penalty in the amount of hundreds of millions of dollars is far beyond what you get in any other cases. Here, you remember Martin Shkreli. He was the big pharma bro. They awarded $64 million in disgorgement against him, a quarter of what was sought for the New York AG. There's all sorts of pharmaceutical allegations there. They're also seeking to bar Trump from any commercial transactions in New York, and it is a giant penalty. So there's no evidence here to support these claims, no evidence of ill-gotten gains, and so Tishy is wrong on everything. And as you can see, we'll come into the conclusion Finally, to the extent the court intends to issue a decision adverse to Trump, which of course Engoron will, we ask that it be stayed while we appeal to the higher level courts. Submitted by Abbe, Madayo, and Associates out of New York. Signed by Michael, looks like himself. So Trump's team, along with Christopher Keese, submitting their closing brief in Tishy Letitia's civil prosecution of Donald Trump. And so Trump, we know, according to Engoron, not going to be speaking there tomorrow. So Trump came out and started speaking today. Here is what he said over on Truth Social. He posted this video response.
One of the most outrageous, illegal, and corrupt acts among many by the corrupt Soros-backed New York State Attorney General Tish James, controlled Judge Engoron. He's controlled by Tish James, which is a horrible thing because she's bad news and everybody knows it. But it's his refusal to honor the appellate division's ruling that this witch hunt should be dismissed on statute of limitation grounds, among others. Not only did I do nothing wrong, great financial statements, it all came due and all came up during the trial. My statements are great, much better than anyone had any idea. Much, they're great. The expert witness said among the greatest financial statements he's ever seen. So the statements were great. There were no damages to anybody. There were no victims. The banks were happy. Think of it. I had a bank. They wanted to make a loan. They made a loan. I paid back the loan in full. No negotiations, no anything, no victims, no damages. The banks were happy. But the whole hoax should have been ended long before this pathetic excuse for a trial ever started. So you borrow money, you pay back the money, and you get sued by essentially the DOJ. Because they'll do anything. They went through millions of pages of documents, my documents, and they end up going after me over a loan that was repaid in full. No negotiation, no anything. That the bank was very happy with. It's a fix. It's a rigged system. Engoron, the judge, shockingly refused to follow the express orders of the highly respected appellate division in New York State, where we overwhelmingly won. The case is over. Such disrespect for an appeals court, the job of which is to protect New Yorkers from a runaway judge like perhaps Engoron, is unheard of in our country and smacks of banana republics and third world countries. Those tactics employed by crooked Joe Biden's other henchmen and people like deranged Jack Smith, who was brought in to try and get Trump, but he's not doing so well.
No, he's not.
The rule of law in New York State will never recover if this partisan attack is not immediately squashed. They're after his political opponent because Biden is losing badly to me in the polls. He's doing horribly. Essentially, he's a horrible president, and the people understand that. So they go after me when actually I've done a great job. They try saying I've done a bad job and a dishonest job, and that turned out to be false. And they didn't know what to do in the middle of the trial, but they kept it going. This trial should have never been brought. It should have been ended early. It should have gone to the commercial division like all other cases, but the judge, who's a Trump hater, refused to let it go. He refused under any circumstances to let it go. He had no victims. The banks testified. They were happy. They didn't even know what they were doing there. They got back all of their money. They got back all of their interest. Frankly, they wanted to make me the loan because that's what they do. They make loans and they make money when they make loans.
Yes, they do.
And this was a great loan for them. And they acknowledged that at the trial. And this is where they went after me. Now they want $370 million plus other things, but $370 million, which is far more than the loans. Far more than the loans.
Crazy.
They were perfect loans. The banker said, I wish we had all our loans like this. They ought to focus on violent crime in New York because it's driving people out of the state, and leave people that pay millions and millions of dollars in taxes alone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Donald Trump. Nice closing statement, and absolutely correct. It is just all rigged. And they want more money in penalties than the actual loans were even worth. So Donald Trump delivers his closing argument here on the interwebs. We'll see what happens tomorrow when he's there in court and there are closing arguments in Tishy Letitia's prosecution. We're going to be here to continue to cover it, my friends, and we hope that you join us as we do. So don't forget to subscribe wherever you're watching this. Thanks for checking out robertgovea.com, which is our website. You can sign up for our daily newsletter there so that everything that we talk about, if you miss anything, it gets bundled up, delivered via email right to your inbox. That way you can forward it to all of your friends and family members so they can see what type of garbage is happening here behind the scenes. They can see the documents and see that Engoron is prohibiting Trump from even making a statement because they're so petrified he might speak some truth about the sham trial that's taking place in his courtroom. So we'll be here continuing to cover this and more Trump trials. Thanks for subscribing. We'll see you back here on the next one. Now, we're not done yet, my friends. We are carrying on, and we're going down to Georgia. Fani Willis got served with a subpoena, and it's not just any subpoena. It comes from her special prosecutor's ex, Nathan Wade, going through a divorce, and apparently the ex, not too happy about the news that Fani and Nathan may have been indicting each other, if you know what I mean. And so the Wall Street Journal had the exclusive. They've looked into the divorce records, and apparently the subpoena wants to talk about the improper relationship. Oh, and we've got that. We've also got law offices of Nathan Wade. Remember that this relationship was very curious because Nathan was meeting with the White House. We're going to remind ourselves about those meetings, but Fani was also meeting with the White House. Kamala Harris, they were hanging out back in February, and remember, Donald Trump was not even prosecuted, not even indicted until August 14th of 2023. So multiple meetings between these two little lovebirds and the White House before any of this happened. Now, Congressman Gooden demanding answers from the Biden people about this. Why, Biden, was your White House counsel meeting with Fani's special prosecutor? And why was Fani herself meeting with Kamala? Very curious. Now, Newt Gingrich had a theory on this that I think is basically confirmed now, and we'll wrap this segment up with Alina Abbe in the House. But the story is from the Wall Street Journal, and here's what it looks like. Tells us that the prosecutor in the Trump Georgia case, known there here lovably as Big Fani, since she's the biggest Fani in Georgia, the biggest county is Fulton County. She's a Fulton County DA. I mean, it's pretty big. So it says here, Fulton County DA has been subpoenaed to testify in her colleague's divorce proceeding. That's Nathan Wade. According to a court filing, a development that could shed light on claims about Willis and how her colleague carried out an improper romantic relationship. Oh. Now, in a court filing that was reviewed by the Wall Street Journal, a process server said he showed up at Willis's office in Atlanta on Monday morning with a subpoena. Oh, man. Oh, that's just great. Seeking her testimony in the Cobb County divorce case of Nathan Wade. Fani got served. Wow, that's just great. At her office. I was thinking they got her at home. They walked right in here. Fulton County DA's office. Hey, where's Fani Willis's office here? I'm a process server. Everybody points to her office like she's back there. Go get her. Go get her. And they let him in. You know, normally like a processor, you can make it hard. You know, you tell Fani, hey, process server's here. Get the hell out of here. She leaves. She goes back over to Nathan's house. Amazing. So the lawyer, they got her. A lawyer she hired as special prosecutor is Nathan Wade, and his wife, called Jocelyn Wade, are apparently getting divorced. The process server said, oh, here it is. There it is. Said he left the subpoena. Okay, she didn't get it, right? So I should have read further. Filed by Jocelyn Wade's lawyer with her executive assistant. Okay, so Fani made a beeline for the door, which is how this normally works, right? I was going to say, there's no way they actually got her there. So the process server said, hey, I went to her office. I left it with her executive assistant. I don't know in Georgia if they're going to count that as actual service. I don't think so. I think that they got to actually get it to Willis and the process server tell that. We'll see what the judge says. But regardless, a Willis spoke, hilarious. Either way, hilarious that they went to her office. Okay, now everybody knows. Everybody knows. I mean, they already knew because the little love affair was already made public yesterday, but now it's like, oh crap, they're showing up at our office. So they have to respond. And I've been scouring the interwebs all day today to see if Fani or Nathan or somebody responded, and there's no response. They're running away. So a Willis spokesman declined to comment on Tuesday about the subpoena, but he said previously that the prosecution would be responding in a court filing to the allegations of the improper relationship. Now, Willis's office hadn't filed a response as of noon on Tuesday. Of course not. Wade also didn't immediately respond to a request for comment left on the voicemail at his law office, and a lawyer for Jocelyn Wade also didn't immediately provide a comment either. Man, this thing is blowing up. It's great. The subpoena was served on Monday, just hours before one of Trump's co-defendants filed a motion laying out allegations of misconduct by Willis and Nathan Wade, including of an improper clandestine personal relationship. They went on cruises together during the pendency of the case. Now, according to the motion, which we read yesterday, which was a lot of fun, the lawyer Ashley Merchant asked the judge to disqualify her. Merchant said that the sealed records from the divorce case, which she got, remember, she went and says, I got them all. And she says, I viewed those before the court limited access to the documents. They substantiate her claims. She also asked the judge in the divorce case to unseal those records. So yesterday, when we were reading through Ashley Merchant's motion, I was making the point that she was probably holding back, like a bunch back, because she's a professional. You know, they say, you know, you don't dump where you eat and all that stuff. So she's probably being respectful. There's probably, you know, going to be spillage in this, like other people who are covering up from Fani, or maybe not that bad of people and stuff. Like, so she's got to live with this, right? And so she's being, I think, merciful, probably. Okay. She's like, look, I'm going to give you the chance to clarify this and dismiss the case. Like, that's all we want. Okay. Ashley, the lawyer, just dismiss the case against my client. My obligation as the defense lawyer is to my client. I'm not here to necessarily rub Fani's nose in the mud, but if you don't dismiss our case, like, I'm prepared to do that. Okay. I went to the other court, the family court, and I got all the documents, and I'm not dumping them now, but I'm about to. So play nice or else. Now, so she's got the documents. Merchant said they were viewed and that they confirmed they substantiate her claims. Now, the Fulton County Board of Commissioners supposed to approve the contracts, but that never happened. McAfee, who's overseeing the case, had not scheduled a hearing on the motion, nor did online courts in Cobb County indicate that there was a deposition date set for the divorce. So Mrs. Wade, the ex, is going to be having her lawyers depose the homewrecker, Fani. The subpoena did not include details on the topics of questioning, but the filing by Roman's attorney stunned everybody. McAfee still has not set a trial date in the Trump prosecution. So just amazing. Now, we also saw that these two little lovebirds, who are now apparently going to be having some nice depositions in divorce court, we know that Nathan Wade met with the White House twice. We talked about this yesterday in the Roman filing. If you look at the documents, there were two bills from Nathan Wade, Fani's lover, alleged, from the offices of Nathan J. Wade to Fani, to Fulton County DA's office in Atlanta, Georgia. Two bills: travel to Athens for a conference with White House counsel. That was on May 23rd, 2022, before Donald Trump was indicted. Full 8-hour day on that. Didn't take lunch. Didn't go pee-pee, not once. 8 hours, 9 to whatever it is, 9 to 5. And, or maybe he started at 8 and then take a coffee break or something. Like, who knows? But 8 hours, right? Straight through, $2,000. He did it again in November, same year. Interview with DC and the White House. What is that for? 11/18/2022. Now, you might say this is not a big deal. Of course it is, because they were supposed to do their independent investigation. They were investigating this on their own. They were not copying and pasting the White House's homework. That's how we know that they have the cause to bring the charges, because they did their own independent investigation. And by the way, his name is a special prosecutor, right? He was supposed to go do all of this independently, not just take Jack Smith's and Liz Cheney's hearsay documents from the J6 committee and just incorporate them into their case. So they met with them for 16 hours twice. And the left always likes to say that there is no evidence of any collusion between the White House and these people. It's right here. He billed them for it. He got paid $4,000 for it, for the meeting. What were they talking about? Who knows? But one can suspect it's more coordination to do what the White House wants, because this is more prosecution by Joe Biden. Same story happened with Merrick Garland. Joe Biden was upset. We heard about it in the news. Turn around. Merrick Garland says, I don't want to upset the president. He turns around and appoints Jack Smith, who's also illegitimate, by the way. Not even lawfully a special counsel, because he's not confirmed by the Senate or appointed by the president like a U.S. attorney is. So those are the bills. Now, what we didn't know is that Fani also met with Kamala. Isn't this curious? And this comes over from this gentleman, Mike Howell. He's over at M. Howell Tweets. He's a member of Heritage and Oversight PR, and he's an investigative columnist. He looked this up. He says, hey, pretty simple. We uncovered a record of Fani visiting the White House on February 28th, 2023, before the indictment came down. What happened? Fani Willis made an appointment on February 24th. And then on February 28th, she hung out there from 1,800 to 2,300 hours. That's a long meeting. That's like a nighttime party, huh? Wonder what was going on. And who did she meet with? The POTUS, Kamala Harris, saying that they met at the side lawn and the tent, and they released this document on May 30th, 2023. So Fani is colluding with Kamala. Nathan is colluding with the White House counsel. We have 3 meetings between the Fulton County DA's office and the White House. And that's just what's been logged, right? That's what we can see. They were dumb enough to bill for it. I appreciate the honesty. I'm glad he billed for it. But they should have told us. So with all of that happening, Congressman Gooden is demanding answers. He wants to know, why was the White House meeting with these people? And it seems to confirm this theory from Newt Gingrich. Newt was on with Charlie Kirk. This was months ago, right after the indictment was launched. And this happened back in 2023 in August. The indictment dropped. Newt said he heard from a source that there was a phone call from Fani to get Trump indicted immediately. Here's what that sounded like from months ago.
That I am told, this is hearsay, but I am told by a reliable source that Friday evening, somebody from Washington called the district attorney in Atlanta and said, you have to indict on Monday. We have to cover up all of the mistakes we just made with Weiss. And she said, apparently, my jurors aren't coming back till Tuesday. And they said, you didn't hear me. You have to indict on Monday. And she said, well, they're not going to get here before noon. They said, it doesn't matter. She said, this means it's going to be 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock at night. They said, it doesn't matter. We need the news media shifting.
Who made that phone call?
We don't know. And I'm telling you up front, this is hearsay, but it's from a person who has remarkably good sources.
I totally believe it, though, because that would explain why they leaked and they messed up on the clerk document, why she was exhausted, and why they had the 11 p.m. press conference, Mr. Speaker.
Exactly right, Charlie. Exactly right, Charlie. Nailed it. And it was rushed. Right? Remember it. We covered it. They were all panicked. Documents were flying all over the place. Like, what the heck? Where did this come from? Because they got that phone call. Because Fani and Nathan, the lovebirds, were meeting around with the White House. Now, there is one congressman who wants to know more about this, and he sent a letter over to the White House. This is Lance Gooden. He's from the great state of Texas. And he says to Joseph Biden at the White House, he says, Dear President Biden, so-called, recent revelations about meetings between the Fulton County Fani and her romantic partner called Nathan and your White House, Kamala, and the counsel are deeply troubling. Now, these meetings, which occurred twice in 2022 before Trump was charged, raise significant questions about the impartiality and the integrity of the legal process, saying this is not the only time allegations of White House collusion with, quote, independent prosecutors have arisen. White House logs have also revealed that your senior staff were meeting with the special counsel Jack Smith's top aide just days before the charges were filed against Trump. So why are White House logs showing that senior staff are meeting with Jack Smith if he's independent, not meeting with the White House? That's weird. Now, such a meeting between the DOJ and the White House office amid an investigation into their political enemy, Trump, and a major political opponent raises serious concerns over the intent of the meeting and the motive behind these charges. Now, it has come to light that Mr. Nathan Wade, the special prosecutor, while working on the investigation into Trump's alleged interference, billed Fulton County for 2 separate meetings with the White House back in May and November of 2022. And this information, revealed in a recent court filing by Mr. Roman, shout out, suggests a concerning level of coordination between the White House and those leading these politically sensitive investigations. Now, the implications of these meetings are profound. They suggest that the Biden White House may have been inappropriately involved in or informed the political prosecution of a former president and a major political opponent. Now, this is especially concerning given the alleged personal relationship between Willis and Wade and the financial benefits that they reportedly received during the course of the investigation. Now, this situation is not just a matter of legal ethics, writes the congressman. Says Biden, this strikes at the heart of our democratic principles. The American people deserve to have confidence in the impartiality of our legal system and the independence of our judicial process. The involvement of the White House in a case of this magnitude undermines that confidence and suggests a misuse of power and doing it for political ends. Saying we must maintain a clear separation between the two, and this administration, you guys, erode the trust between the American public and the office of the presidency. The transparency and accountability that you promised, Joe, must extend to all branches of the government, especially in cases with political implications. Saying to Joe, it is essential that you and your administration, you take every step necessary to secure classified information that could risk the safety of the American people. And accordingly, we ask that you advise us of the following. Joe Biden, have you, White House staff, attorneys representing members of your family, or advisors, met with any of the following individuals, whether it's virtually or in person, involving the investigation of President Trump? Whether it's Nathan Wade, Fani Willis, Jack Smith, deranged, illegitimate, or Jay Bratt, another deranged prosecutor who works for Jack Smith. Also, any member of the Fulton County prosecutor team or any member of Jack Smith's team, like highlighter girl Molly. In addition, says Gooden, to the information related to your administration seeking to commence and influence the investigation of Trump, I am once again, Biden, requesting any visitors' logs at your Delaware property and all communications between you, the Secret Service, and your decision to maintain visitor logs at Delaware. And so please include a minimum the following. All documents and communications related to the Secret Service decision to process and maintain visitor logs in Delaware, and all documents and communications related to process, to vet, and verify all visitors to Delaware. Lance Gooden from Texas says, Joe, I urge you to uphold your commitment to a transparent visitor log policy to address your decision to regularly provide exclusive access to certain members of the public outside the White House where you keep classified documents, like in his garage. I respectfully request an answer to these questions no later than February 14th. Looking forward to that. Not happening. From Lance Gooden, member of Congress, digging into this. Now, this I think is concerning, right? Joe Biden is orchestrating all of this. They say he's not, but we know that there is evidence that they are. He's billing to meet with the White House counsel. They're not independent. They're involved exactly in it. From Congress, from the House of Representatives to the White House. And now Alina Abbe is reacting. She explains what her side is thinking. Here is her take as one of Trump's lawyers.
The situation in Georgia and the revelations that surround the appointment of a prosecutor, a close relationship between the two. We heard the former president talk about this a bit today. He thinks that this essentially makes the Georgia case one that has to fall apart based on this. Explain your take.
My take is very much the sentiments of the president. I will say that these are obviously allegations that, if proven true, are extremely troubling and do create an ethical problem for Fani, for frankly the entire office. If a prosecutor's office is tainted by political animus, which we already know it has, and then they're tainted by taking taxpayer dollars and going on vacations, if those allegations are true and she's hiring people that she is sleeping with and putting them in positions to attack a political enemy, I can't even begin to start on where ethically that is problematic, let alone let's go to the case, which we know has no merits, but was obviously motivated by a group of people that have ill intent. So we've already known that. If these allegations, though, against Fani are in fact proven, she's going to have a problem on her hands.
Oh,
ethically,
yeah. That is
personally, and frankly, for this case.
Yeah, Alina. Okay, so she's right about that, man. It's going to be fun to see what Fani's response looks like. And of course, we're going to be here continuing to cover it. So as soon as that response drops from Fani's office, we'll be here to attend to it, my friend. So thank you for subscribing and joining us wherever it is you're watching this. We'll also say, go to our website, robertgovea.com. If you haven't checked it out, we got a new shop over there. We've got all the reports are there. All the PDFs are uploaded over there. We'd love it if you signed up for our newsletter and forwarded the emails that you got to your friends so they could see what else is going on. We'll look forward to seeing you back here on the next one. All right, my friends. And now, one final segment on the day. And this was the big joke thing that happened this morning from the president's son. Hunter Biden violates the congressional subpoena again. We know it's still in effect. We know that Congress really wants to talk to him. They're trying to figure out what to do about it. But Hunter showed up in Congress when they were there talking about him today and then left, just like he did the first time. And it was a pretty fiery day today. Nancy Mace was calling him out, saying he has no cojones, which is true. Marjorie Taylor-Green called him a coward, which is true. And we know that he's got a certain form of privilege, thanks to Byron Donalds, who explains this. And the big question, of course, is, was he on crack today? Several reporters asked him about that. Stick around to hear his response. But let's start with what happened as he waltzed right on in there. My question, of course, was this planned? Did Joe Biden know about it? Karine said Joe Biden knew about the last one. And how does he just walk in and go right into the front of the hearing with seats saved for him? What Democrats were involved in conspiring to make this happen? Was it Stinky Swalwell again? Nobody knows. But we're going to see what it looked like as he surprised everybody this morning. MSNBC had cameras there. This is what it sounded like.
They want to
Julie,
talk to
we
Hunter
have
behind
these
closed
live
doors.
images right now. We see Hunter Biden appearing at the Capitol, just walking through the door. It looks like he's surrounded with his Secret Service team there and other members of his entourage. But he is officially at the Capitol as these hearings get underway. We're looking at live images right now as he goes through, it appears, the metal detector or nearby the metal detectors. We presumably expect him to enter at least one of these committee rooms because, again, this is before the Oversight Committee, also action happening in the Judiciary Committee. We're just going to follow these cameras and Hunter Biden and see where he's going to head, what's going to happen next. Again, he wasn't expected to show up for these hearings from the sense of he wasn't called by the people holding these hearings to appear. So he's choosing to be there. I want to bring.
So that is Hunter walking right in, and he walked, you can see him, he walks right to the front. They've got 3 different seats right there in front for him, and he just takes the seat. So what we see is we're going to watch him just sit there for a little bit. Now, he starts getting some questions. Nancy Mace is going to be where we start. And then he just exits. And he exits as soon as Marjorie Taylor-Green starts to dig into him a bit, because he probably doesn't want to see his genitals again up in Congress. So this is Nancy Mace, who is a representative on the committee. and she laced into Hunter as he was seated there. Here is what that sounded like.
It does not matter who you are, where you come from, or who your father is, or your last name. Yes, I'm looking at you, Hunter Biden, as I'm speaking to you. You are not above the law at all. The facts in this case are crystal clear. This committee issued a lawful subpoena to Hunter Biden, a critical witness in this committee's investigation into Biden family corruption. Hunter Biden and his lawyers did not claim privilege of any kind because clearly he has none. They didn't contest the legitimacy of our reasons for issuing the subpoena, no reasons, because they clearly are legitimate. And yet he refused to comply. Trump's family members, Don Trump Jr., he did not defy a congressional subpoena. He showed up multiple times for multiple depositions for several hours. In doing so, Hunter Biden broke the law. He did so deliberately. You did so flagrantly. You showed up on the Hill, on the Senate side, the day of that congressional subpoena to defy it and spit in the face of this committee. That's what you did.
Thank you for saying that, Nancy. That's exactly right. I'm glad you get it. I don't think Comer got it. But that's right, he did. He spit in your face. That's perfectly
the question the American people are asking us is,
I like it.
What is Hunter Biden so afraid of? Why can't you show up for a congressional deposition? You're here for a political stunt. This is just a PR stunt to you. This is just a game that you are playing with the American people. You're playing with the truth. Hunter Biden wasn't afraid to sell access to Joe Biden to the highest bidder when he was in elected office. He wasn't afraid to trade on the Biden brand, peddle influence, and share those ill-gotten gains with members of his family, including Joe Biden. He wasn't afraid to compromise the integrity of the presidency and vice presidency by involving Joe Biden in shady business deals with our foreign adversaries. But Hunter Biden, you were too afraid to show up for a deposition. And you still can't today.
Yeah, punk.
I believe that Hunter Biden should be held completely in contempt. I think he should be hauled off to jail right now, because it wasn't long ago, too, my friends on the other side of the aisle, that you also believed in the power of a congressional subpoena. Not long ago at all. You believed in holding those who refused to comply with congressional subpoena accountable. And I stood with each and every one of you. I am the only member in this room today who has held a member of my own party in contempt of Congress for not showing up for a subpoena. And I see nothing but complete hypocrisy on the other side of the aisle. The ranking member of
That's the problem, Nancy. Like, they don't play according to the rules. So why are you?
This committee even so eloquently put it. The lesson is, please tell your children out there in America, if you get a subpoena to go before Congress, go. You have a legal responsibility to do so. So the hypocrisy is stunning. What are we to tell our children today? There's nothing the other side can say with a straight face. As the only member of this committee to vote to hold a member of contempt of my own party, let me be clear, this should not be a partisan issue. If Congress issues a subpoena, you show up, period. This is not a responsibility we take lightly. It brings no joy for us to do this, but the president's son broke the law and must be held accountable in the same way anybody else would. I urge my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to do so. And my last message to you, Hunter Biden, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
Yeah, you little B. That's what she should have said. And you're acting like a little B right now, too, is what she should have said. But because he is. Now, did you see that wink? And I noticed that myself. I see several of you caught that in the chat. There it is. Who is he winking to right there? Okay, that's Kevin Morris, the guy who's funneling a lot of money to pay for this guy. So Kevin Morris is that Hollywood lawyer. I think Garrett Ziegler, the author of Marco Polo's report on the Biden laptop, knows everything about this guy, funneling a lot of money to pay for his legal fees. And apparently he's also working on a top secret documentary or something as well. But they show up, man. They get 3 seats right in the front, and Hunter is sitting in the middle. And watch this little wink right there. Who is this guy winking to? Boom. Do you see that right there? Boom. Who's that wink right there? Who is he winking to? That's somebody up there on the bench, right? Somebody up there sitting there. Is that who's up there? Who's he winking to up there? I'm very curious. So what Democrats are involved in this conspiracy to continue to obstruct Congress? I don't know. So that's Nancy Mace. Now, it goes on, but as soon as Marjorie Taylor-Green went into her line of questioning, Hunter tapped his lawyer on the shoulder and they bailed. And so let's watch some of this. We'll pause. We're going to watch the exit happen a couple different times so you can see it, and then we'll come back to Marjorie's line of questionings. Here is what it looked like at the outset.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me, Hunter. Apparently you're afraid of my words.
Whoa!
Pathetic.
Oh.
I'd like to reclaim my time, Mr. Chairman.
Pathetic.
Wow, that's too bad.
He left probably because Marjorie was going to show more images of him trafficking in women or doing cocaine or other illegal drugs while he was grifting off of America and getting paid millions of dollars for doing Lord knows what other than trading on his daddy's name. He didn't want to see, his genitals again, which, who could blame anybody for that? But watch what happened. So that was from one angle. I've got a couple other angles because you can see this was all planned. So he basically taps his shoulder as soon as Marjorie gets it. This is another angle. They just get up, walk out, front row seats.
Why are you choosing to leave now, Mr. Biden? Why not stay a while?
I have a statement to make to the press. Statement. I will have a statement. You want to walk?
Okay, so they're talking, you want to stay here? Do you want to walk? Do you want to stay here? Do you want to walk? That's a different angle. Here is another one. And this is from Fox News. This is what they caught.
Gentlemen, time's expired. Chair recognizes Ms. Green from Georgia for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me, Hunter. Apparently you're afraid of my words.
Whoa! Oh.
Run away,
I'd like
Hunter.
to reclaim my time, Mr. Chairman.
Run away. Okay, so that's what Fox caught, and I got one more clip here for you just to see it from MSNBC's angle. And you can see, watch him just tap his attorney's shoulder right here. As soon as Marjorie gets it, he taps her.
Gentlemen, time's expired. Chair recognizes Ms. Green from Georgia.
Boom, let's go. See that? It's Miss Green. Boom, let's go. It's Green.
From Georgia for 5 minutes.
Okay, that's it. Don't want to see my genitals
Thank you,
again.
Mr. Chairman.
Or my human trafficking.
Excuse me, Hunter. Apparently you're afraid of my words.
Whoa!
Okay, now we're going to follow them through and we're going to watch, we're going to listen to some exchanges. I've actually got the full clip of Abbe Lowell who explains what's going on here. But let's go back to Marjorie and see what she says after he actually left the court. So here she is.
On conservative Republican women, because he can't even face my words as I was about to speak to him. What a coward.
Coward.
And this is also a coward that sat right here in front of Mickey Babbitt, Ashley Babbitt's mother, who was murdered on January 6th by Michael Byrd, the Capitol police officer. And you want to talk about a committee, a political sham? I'll totally disagree with you, Ms. Mace. That January 6th committee was not bipartisan. It was a complete setup to go after President Trump, go after Republicans, go after anyone that believes in free and fair elections, people that believe the Department of Justice should be fair and balanced, not a political weaponized department of the federal government that is targeting President Trump, his supporters, people that walked in the Capitol on January 6th, and now people that stood outside the Capitol. There's been no justice for Ashley Babbitt's family. Michael Byrd has never been charged with anything. He was let off and he was given a promotion and allowed to walk free. And Hunter Biden just walked out. That is an example of not following the law. Hunter Biden thinks he's above the law. Don Jr., Eric Trump, Ivanka, Trump family members had to come in to Democrat subpoenas and be questioned by Democrats for over 8 hours, each of them. Hunter Biden runs away. Hunter Biden did not come when we subpoenaed him. He did not follow the law. And then one of our colleagues helped him evade his subpoena by going and reserving a press conference for him on his behalf, helped him evade the subpoena, helped Hunter Biden break the law. Let's talk about his own father's words. President Joe Biden said in October 2021 that individuals who defy subpoenas from the January 6th House Select Committee should be prosecuted. And the Justice Department indicted Steve Bannon for doing so in November 2021. Hunter Biden's father, the President of the United States, said that he should be prosecuted. Anyone that defies a subpoena should be prosecuted.
Joe said it.
Hunter Biden didn't show up for his subpoena.
We played the
Hunter
clip.
Biden showed up today to make a clown show of himself, to show that he is nothing but someone that will not obey the law, that wants to show up when he wants to, and sits here with a smug look on his face and runs away when it's my turn to talk. Not only is he a criminal,
Pathetic.
but he is a coward.
Coward.
Nothing but a coward. Let's talk about the
Love that. Okay, so Marjorie Taylor-Green on a tear, absolute coward, runs away like a little weenie, and then Abbe Lowell comes out and gives this statement. And so here's what he says. Before we hear some reporters asking some very pertinent questions like what kind of crack he's on, here is what Abbe Lowell said about this when Hunter was out talking to the press.
Mr. Biden. Let me start again. Hunter Biden was and is a private citizen. Despite this, Republicans have sought to use him as a surrogate to attack his father. And despite their improper partisan motives, on 6 different occasions since February of 2023, we have offered to work with the House committees to see what and how relevant information to any legitimate inquiry could be provided.
Hunter kind of has that like that cocaine dead eye stare, isn't it? Kind of like what's going on right now.
Our first 5 offers were ignored, and then in November they issued a subpoena for a behind closed doors deposition, a tactic that the Republicans have repeatedly misused in their political crusade to selectively leak and mischaracterize what witnesses have said.
What are you going to do when the House...
Last fall, Chairman Comer made an explicit offer that people like Hunter and had, like him, the option to attend a deposition or a public hearing, whichever they chose. Hunter chose a hearing where Republicans could not distort, manipulate, or misuse that testimony. Honoring and then ignoring that invitation and proving once again that they cared little about the truth and wanted only to, quote, move the needle of political support, which was a quote Chairman Comer confessed was his true purpose. The Republican chairs today, then, are commandeering an unprecedented resolution to hold someone in contempt who has offered to publicly answer all their proper questions. The question there is, what are they afraid of? Thank you.
Okay, so Abbe Lowell delivers the statement that we all expected it would be. And a part of me thinks that, you know, the White House is not happy about this, obviously. Like, they want Hunter to go away, crawl into a gutter from where he belongs, and never hear from him again. Because every time that he pops up, we all go, well, that's a pretty bad double standard here. And it forces the left to defend him, which is like a really hard thing to do. If you've ever taken a look at that book, MarcoPoloUSA.org put this together, the report on the Hunter laptop. It's all available online for free. You can get a copy. But it exposes like what this guy, like, he is a criminal of epic proportions. And you can go all the way back to tax crimes, other financial fraudulent crimes, you know, embezzlement crime, like FARA crimes. There's a whole laundry list of them, not to mention human trafficking is being alleged, right? Underage stuff with underage people in foreign locations. Like, it's a disgusting, not a good person, and somebody who is basically defending that lifestyle, right? Not responding to any of this and saying that he is above the law. He can show up. There's a valid subpoena. Congress is not going to do anything. They're not going to have the sergeant at arms go arrest him. And he knows that his daddy's Justice Department isn't going to do anything either. And so what is this about? It's probably about trying to get that pardon anchored in there. And it's good, you know, when Joe exits, if he's exiting, he's going to have this cover to say, oh, we showed up. My son showed up, but these dang Republicans are coming after me. And so it feels like they're trying to provide cover for Hunter. That's what some of the show is about. And we'll see if it works or not. I think, Joe Biden is probably very beholden to him. And they're performing this show because they think it's going to provide political cover. And when this gets bad, when this gets worse, remember, he's got two things going on. He's also got the DOJ prosecution now out of California. So he's got criminal charges in two locations, Delaware and California, and potentially maybe a third one for defying a congressional subpoena. So he's got a lot of stuff coming at him. If he can make this a big high-profile thing, Joe Biden can say, I'm going to pardon you for all of this stuff because it's politicized. And then he's happy, right? He goes free back to his crackhead ways or whatever. So that is Abbe Lowell. Now, they were walking after that press conference, and we've got a couple questions from great reporters. But Byron Donalds, after Hunty ran away like a little coward, he said, this isn't about white privilege, which some people might think it is. It's about another privilege, which is even more prevalent and even more real. The other's not. This one's real.
Oh, look, let's be very clear. This isn't about Hunter Biden's white privilege. It's about Hunter Biden's Democrat privilege.
Boom!
Because Donald Trump Jr. showed up for 5 congressional subpoenas. There was never this circus where he was subpoenaed by House Democrats and he showed up on the Senate side or showed up at the White House to answer in some fake, phony, lame press conference, not actually going to the House and doing what he was compelled by a subpoena to do. Hunter Biden did that. And then he has the unmitigated gall to show up here when we know that we're going through actually the legislation for contempt with, by the way, Mr. Chairman, we should actually get to the legislation of contempt. The speechifying is great, but let's do our business, members. He has the gall to come here, show up, and then when the Democrats are saying, hey, he wants to speak, he leaves. This is a joke. This is a farce.
Yeah.
The man has been subpoenaed by Congress.
Go and get him. He's sitting there mocking all of you. Byron Donalds gets it. Let's get back to work and do our business. So now, as they were leaving, Fox News had some questions for Hunter, and Hunter responded to this. Here is what that sounded like.
Biden, why did you put your dad on speakerphone with your business partners if he had no involvement in your business?
Do you have a dad? Did he call you?
Yes.
Answer the phone?
Yes.
Okay.
But why did you need to talk to him during business meetings if he had nothing to do with your business?
Well, you're dangerous. You're very dangerous.
Hunter said, you're very dangerous. Did you hear that? You're very dangerous was the response. Yeah, your dad can call you. You can answer it, but not when you're in the middle of a business meeting. Or, hey, Dad, I'll call you back. Hey, call you back in an hour. I'm wrapping up here. Thanks, son.
Well, you're dangerous. You're very dangerous.
So he says you're very dangerous. And one of the reasons you might say that is because I'm sure that his lawyer said, we're going to go out in the hallway. I'll handle the questions. You don't say a word. But he can't help himself. And so he answers that question and then says, you're very dangerous. Right. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think that's why they want to get him in the deposition chair, because they think that, even though it's in his interest to not answer questions, and even though Abbe Lowell will be there trying to tie him up and gag him and keep him quiet, the impulse is always to be too smart or too clever by half and answer questions. Look, prosecutors bank on that.
Andy McCarthy, former U.S. assistant attorney, he does a lot of legal analysis, so he's saying, yeah, not that smart for old Hunter. But these were the two questions that really stole the day. And we want to know. I mean, he had that dead eye stare out there like this. Maybe it's meth or cocaine or some other type of stimulant. But here's the really important question that got lobbed his way.
Would you please, I'll answer your question if you be quiet and let me make a statement, okay? What kind of crack do you normally smoke, Mr. Biden?
Hey, one more time. What kind of crack do you normally smoke, Mr. Biden? What kind of brand is it?
Would you please, I'll answer your question if you be quiet and let me make a statement, okay? What kind of crack do you normally smoke, Mr. Biden?
What's your favorite brand? You have good deals anywhere? Like buy one, get one free? You got BOGO deals with your dealer? What's up? What kind of stuff you hit? Which one's the smooth one? All right. And that wasn't the only one. Okay. Here was another one as they were walking down Are you high today, sir?
Other side of me.
Hunter, what's your favorite type of crack? Are you on crack today?
Hey, what's your favorite kind of crack, sir? Are you on crack today, right now?
Mr. Biden, why did you put your dad on speakerphone?
Okay, one more time. Here, you can hear those being lobbed over the other reporter.
Other side of me.
Hunter, what's your favorite type of crack? Are you on crack today?
Mr. Biden, why did you put your dad on speakerphone with your business partners if you had no involvement in your business?
Do you have a dad? Did he call you?
Yes.
Did you answer the phone?
Yes.
Okay.
But why did you need to talk to him during business meetings if he had nothing to do with your business? That's it.
Are you on crack right now, Hunter? And what kind of crack is your favorite? Are you going back to a crack right now? Are you going to be, hitting that bong with your lawyer? So it is just a circus in there, and Hunter snubbed them again. Now, what is Congress going to do about it? Yeah, they're going to vote and they're going to hem and haw, but are they going to actually hold him in contempt and then send that over to the DOJ and see what the DOJ does? Well, we'll be here to continue to cover it, my friends. The Biden crime family continues to march on. Thank you for subscribing and joining our channel, wherever it is you're watching this. We're going to be here covering all this madness, and we'll look forward to seeing you back here on the next one. All right, my friends. Well, that is it for us on the day. We covered some good ground. Hunter violating congressional subpoenas again and getting called a coward by Marjorie Taylor-Green. We also have Fani getting served by Wade's ex, and apparently now going to be ordered to sit for a deposition at a divorce proceeding with her special prosecutor. And then lastly, we have tomorrow, we're going to be back to talk about what happens in closing arguments, but Donald Trump has been prohibited from speaking tomorrow because he doesn't agree to Judge Engoron's gag. And so now, my friends, it's time to hear from you to see what you have to say about this. We are going to go over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com here in a few minutes to say what's up, to do our debrief and our after party. If you want to join us, come sign up, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. If you're a YouTube member, don't forget you can join us on Telegram. If you're a member, you can scroll down in the community tab section, grab the Telegram link, and we'll see you over there on Telegram. But now, let's hear from you, my friends. I appreciate all these very nice donos and the support that you're sending in here today. Couldn't do it without you. So let us start the day off with 66 Anton, who's over on Locals. Sends in a nice tip. Thanks, 66. Getting us started. Says, just because you're worth it. Well, thank you. What a nice thing to say. Well, I appreciate you being here, 66. And a diamond membo over on the Locals. Thanks for being around for so long, 66 Anton. We got this one from Wendy K. Says, I truly believe that every video being shared about Trump, Vivek, or hunting is being lagged on X right now. Yeah, I've been having some X difficulties as well. Some of the videos have been not playing very well. So, yeah, you're not alone in that, I'd say. Mission Glass is our newest supporter. Welcome aboard, Mission Glass. We'll see you on our members only stream tomorrow morning. We'll see you on our Saturday stream. And we'll see you on our after party if you join us on Telegram. B-Man says, not really a trial, guilty already, summary judgment. This is just so Engoron and Peekaboo James can give a speech for the camera. You're technically right about that. I mean, the judge has basically already found him liable. It's just in what amount and what are the penalties. Yeah, it's a sham. And we'll see what happens tomorrow. Show Bizzle is on Local, says, I feel like this is a bad dream. This is beyond ridiculous. It doesn't feel like justice because it is not. It's not even anything closely resembling it. Thanks for being here, Show Bizzle. Hey, Knox Bierman says, happy Wednesday, all. Says, sadly, I must offer that the clients in civil and criminal do not engage in closing arguments. Defendants may address the court, but that can be denied. From Knox Bierman, who is a criminal defense attorney in Texas, and that is accurate. but we still would like the judge to grant Trump some discretion, you know. This one from Glocky McGlockface says, this is what the Dems see as they try to fall asleep. They see this every day. No, and they're like, woo! Insurrection! Bah! Knox Bierman says, okay, now after that areola rant, Donald Trump should just skip the charade of a cause of action. People are adding Donald Trump's face to photo frames at Hobby Lobby. Is that what they're doing? That sounds interesting. Okay, thanks, Knox. We got this one. Okay, so like just, yeah, I mean, just basically, he's going to have to win this on appeal. Like it's not, you know, it's not going to be in his favor with Engoron, no doubt. Glocky McLockface says, fun fact, if any of those court officers even make a move to remove Trump, the Secret Service will throw hands. Okay, Trump's detail loves him. I think that's also true too. You're not going to be forcefully touching him or removing him of anything. You might ask him to leave and he might leave, but yeah, that's a fun point, Glocky. This one from Jigum says, hopefully Jack Smith's appointment is deemed illegal soon. The fallout is going to be so fun to watch. Not quite, but almost as fun as watching the Watchers. And our deranged, illegitimate prosecutor called Jack Smith the deranged thug. Back in the box, Jack. Back in the box. Go back to The Hague. You're not even supposed to be here. You're not even an appointed U.S. attorney, so you got to go. Good to see you, Jigum. Thanks for the very nice dono. You know what we could do is we could just talk about the motion on watching the Watchers. So when the order comes that Jack is illegitimate, it'll be a lot of fun. We'll do it together. Jack in the box. Is this a GIF? Let's see here. It is a GIF. Okay. We'll leave that one, Jigum. We'll leave that one for locals. We got this one from Zach Nichols. That's a good GIF, though. A boy misunderstood is here. Says he can't deny the R accusations in the E. Jean Carroll case. He cannot deny the R accusations in the E. Jean Carroll case. From a boy misunderstood. Yeah, there was a new ruling. He's going to have another trial on that. And there were some orders out of there from Judge, who was that, Kaplan, I think? Yeah. This one, and thank you for that, from a boy misunderstood. And thanks for being a member also on YouTube. We've got this from Chubby Stubby, says the level of hostility and animosity Judge Areola shows towards Trump and his lawyers is absolutely unbelievable. That alone should be grounds for a mistrial. Sadly, though, this is New York, so unless it goes up to SCOTUS, nothing will be done about it. Well, it very well may. It very well may. We'll certainly see if it goes up that way. I think Trump is going to get screwed over and over in New York because it's, you know, it's like Democrat Central there. This one from Glocky McGlockface says, here's a nice article, how I picture Judge Areola and how Greenfield met each other. How did they meet? Mental health center. Yeah. How to make friends with other leftists. Go to a mental health center and you'll find your soulmate there. It might be like a TDS center. TDS center. You have TDS too? Yes, I do. Oh, me too. How are you dealing with it? Oh, I'm working to indict him so he goes away. Oh, Glocky's here, says, just a reminder that this is what they'll do to you. And judges like Engoron would sign orders allowing it. This is literally modern day America and its judicial system. Yeah, I remember these stories, these polling stories, right? 45% of Democrats support internment camps for unvaxxed people. Yeah, I mean, I saw there were these stories all over the place. You shouldn't have your job. There were big swaths of Democrats that said you shouldn't get access to medical care. Remember that? Don't treat them because they're killing everyone. Wrong. Yeah, they're sick, man. They're sick. Like, it's tribal mentality to a whole different level. Like, they would put you in gulags like that. Not even think about it. So they're doing it with the J6ers. It's happening right now. And they're celebrating it. They have like this bloodlust amongst themselves. And Joe Biden's preaching about the scoreboard during his speeches. We got 850 years. What are you, nuts? Those are American citizens, brother. Do you have any idea what you're doing to the justice system and the consequences that will come after this? It's not good, but they don't care because Trump. 1917 Beamer says Trump should do his closing arguments in the corridor where all the reporters are. So I'm sure definitely going to do that. Provided he still comes, which I think he will, right? He's going to be talking to the media all day long, and I can't wait. Cowboy Rob is over here on YouTube as a membo. Thank you, Cowboy Rob, for being a membo. says, I wonder what the ex-wife thinks of all the hidden money. Yeah, she might want to get some of that community property. You know, some of that Trump prosecution money. Man, that Trump prosecution money is good money if you can get it. Oh, these sick people. Glocky McLockface is here saying, something tells me this is what I'm going to rate Big Fanny's reply to the court. Going to rate it. This post is rated 3 Bidens and a Fetterman, which is how dumb it is. Although Fetterman, I got to tell you, has been making a lot of sense. I don't know what happened in that head of his, but some new neurons got reconnected, and he's making some sense now. It's kind of wild. Cowboy Rob says, can an attorney be served in open court? That's a good question. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think probably they could. I've never had it come up, but I don't know. Why not? Yeah, just go get them. I don't know. We got this one. You know, in fact, that's probably why I was thinking about this point yesterday. That's probably why they allowed Ray Epps to testify virtually so that he did not get served if they dragged him to court, because they'd get you on the way in or the way out if they wouldn't let you in the courtroom. But you know, if you were a sneaky process server and you served somebody in court and you filed your affidavit, would they challenge that? Like I don't think so. I think it'd be good. Mark Butcher says, no mercy for liars. Mark Butcher, no mercy for liars. We got Glocky McLockface has this new one. Oh my gosh. There's a new Disney movie coming out. Oh, Glocky McLockface is sharing this one. Thank you, Glocky. It's from Pixar too. Isn't that nice? Disney Pixar, Hunter at the White House. Yeah. And there's cocaine all over I'm sorry, what is that on his shirt? I don't know what it is. Guess you'll have to watch the movie. Now, it's about right. Like what's happening with Disney and Pixar. Hunter's a perfect candidate. I mean, he's like got all sorts of stuff with underage kids and all sort weird, disgusting stuff. So perfect for Disney. They'll do terribly with that film. This one from Knox Bierman says, going up against the DA of the largest county in Georgia when you're a criminal defense attorney takes a lot of cojones. It could cripple your practice. My hat is off to Counselor Hutchinson. Thank you, Knox, for the confirmation on that. I agree totally. It's a big position. Like the county attorney of Maricopa County, it's a big position. And I've heard horror stories from people practicing criminal law, like when they've gone after people, that they have repercussions that come, like suddenly there's cops hanging outside their house. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. So people get skittish, especially when you're going after somebody with a lot of power like that. When you go after governors and stuff like that, she just says, I'd like you to go keep an eye on this person. And then you got cops like breathing down your neck. So it's, you know, it's the life of a criminal defense attorney. Like that could happen with anybody, really, with any person you're representing, with any prosecutor. And it does happen. You know, they flip out and they do crazy things. But my point is, yeah, it's a big, big maneuver. And so I want to pause and recognize Attorney Ashley Hutchinson, who submitted that, because it's nice. I mean, it's really a brave thing to do. We've got this one and the right thing to do. From Glocky sharing this one. Here's another meme. Says, Hunter on his way to visit his dad. White House staffers fired for past marijuana use being escorted out by security. Yeah. Yeah, and Hunter, you know, we don't know why he was in such a hurry to get out of there. Part of our speculation this morning on our members only stream is that he thought he was in the wrong room. He wanted to be in the Senate with those two guys who were jousting each other on Amy Klobuchar's desk. So he's like, this isn't the Senate. This isn't where I want to be. Where were those dudes at? Are they still there? Let's get out of here. Taps his, attorney, and they go over to the Senate. See if they're still there. Who knows? Glocky also sharing this one. This is a new film called Laptoppenheimer. Laptoppenheimer. The Destroyer of Kilos. Yeah. Hunter Biden, the son of Joseph Robinette Biden. Laptoppenheimer, the Destroyer of Kilos. Hey, NY's here, says, can Trump sue for Section 1983 grounds? Fani Smith and the White House conspired to deprive Trump of his civil rights? I'm sure he could. I don't know if it would go anywhere. But certainly I'd make the argument that he suffered damages as a result of illegitimate prosecutions and that they were criminal prosecutions. They broke their prosecutorial code and they were weaponized and political. They were not based in law. And so I think it would be appropriate. This one from Glocky says, Hunter driving back to the White House. And this is Ray Liotta. And that's kind of how he drove. Yeah, no doubt. CF Rob says, Nathan and Fani were talking about the weather. Maybe they brought Coke to Hunter. Yeah, they were probably talking about the weather, just like Hunter and Joe were as well. Hey, here's a new one another one from Glocky. We got some memes on this one. Hunter Biden is starring in the new thriller called Crack Rock Down. Someone dropped some crack in Mogadishu, and Hunter's going to go get it. We had this one from Gloria B. Gifting a membo to Chinny Win in the house. Thank you, Gloria B., for being a membo and bringing in a new membo. Looking forward to meeting our Chinny Win in the house. And Wise on Locals says, so the illegal appointment of Smith, Fanny's hiring of Nathan, the discrepancy of the Fulton County grand jury date smacks of collusion. Hopefully, Jim Jordan will send the White House notification to retain all communication. Any spoliation of evidence would further strengthen the argument these investigations were illegally orchestrated by the White House. Well, and Gooden's asking for some evidence on it. And yeah, I mean, if those are public records, which they should be, we should see them. Here, this one is. This one is from Glocky. Says, when you don't want the feds looking through your files, so you name your files Hunter Biden's hard drive. That's what's called a pro-gamer move. Pro-gamer move. Just call it the Hunter Biden laptop. No one will look at it. Gloria B., another gift coming in to Bourne. Welcome to Bourne. Gloria, thanks for being a membo. Bourne, welcome aboard. CF Rob says, okay, Engoron is basically like Joe Biden. He has a handler taking care of him, telling him what to say or do, and it's connected to Chuck Schumer and all the rest of the Democrats who are also sleeping around. Are they also indicting each other over there? Gross. Glocky says, smack my booty and call me your dirty little special prosecutor. Oh, gosh. What is their pillow talk like? All sorts of legal vernacular. Gosh. Glocky says, is it just me or is Marjorie Taylor-Green matured into her role of being a representative? And she's actually doing a pretty good job of it. I was thinking the same thing. I thought that her speech there was quite articulate. You know, I think people kind of come into their form a bit. You mature, you get the, your bearing straight. Like the first 2 years of any job, like you're kind of learning what you're doing. Your second season, you're much better at what you do. So I think you're right about that. CF Rob says they need to have Hunter arrested and brought to the House of Representatives in handcuffs. Well, today would have been the day to do it. He was already there. And they didn't. So they're not going to do anything. They should. They're not. B. Torn says White House meets Fani and Wade. The conclusion? Collusion. Conspiracy. I think they should be charged under RICO. Why not? Everyone else is. Hey, this is nice. From Viva MAGA, Robert Govea, Time Magazine's Person of the Year, Watching the Watchers. Don't hold your breath on that one. I don't think we're making that list ever, anytime soon. But thank you for the nice thoughts, Viva MAGA. I do appreciate that. We have Fred Pedamonte says, Abba's interview with Patrick Bet-David was great. She's Iraqi. I did not know that. I did not know that. I still haven't watched that one, but it's kind of on the queue. Knox says, Hunter isn't on crack. Look how stretched that jacket is. He's a chunkster these days. You know, I noticed that too. Knox. I think it was in this one image. I was like, he's kind of got a little bit of a belly hanging out there. He should have joined our fitness challenge at the Watcher Lodge. All right, where was that one? Yeah, I think it was this video. When we got to see him, that jacket was kind of, yeah, right there. It got a little bit of a belly kind of poking out there. You know, kind of looks a little bit full. So maybe not on crack. I don't know. Or maybe he's just eating a lot. He's got the munchies again. So, okay, so thank you for that, Knox. Here is this one from CF Rob says, Hunter is afraid of dominating women. He only wants women that he can buy and do whatever he wants with, who just get paid and leave. Rob says Eric Swalwell should be indicted. Certainly feels like he's colluding with him. I mean, who was Kevin Morris winking at on the bench? Democrats? Swalwell? Cowboy Rob says, I was so waiting for Marjorie Taylor-Green to say, oh, bless his heart. Yeah. I like the coward line. I did like the coward line, and she dropped that multiple times. Hey, Glocky McGlock is here. Says Chris Christie just dropped out of what, the buffet line? But we got the presidency. Now, we know why he's doing that, right? He's going to turn around and endorse Nikki Haley, obviously. So he's like, number 3 in New Hampshire. So he's going to turn around and endorse her. So Trump will win Iowa. He's going to try to parlay his support to Nikki Haley to see if Nikki Haley can win in New Hampshire and then cause an actual race here. I'm not optimistic. I don't think that's going to happen, but we'll see. Rob says, gosh, Trump's kids are private citizens as well. Democrats are the ones who use closed door meetings to leak information. This is the pot calling the kettle black from CF Rob. Mark Butcher says Dems are playing games with the reps, the Republicans. Certainly feels that way. The Republicans are just, I actually don't know what they're doing. Like, honestly, spending that they just rejected because it was a terrible deal. Thanks, Mike Johnson. It feels like Hunter's kind of just, throwing these people for a run. It's wild. B. Torn says, Hunter, such a petty man, ran before Marjorie Taylor-Green even began speaking. The nudies of his little noodle were too much to chance being shown blown up on the stand. And Mace saying he's got no balls? Aces. No balls. That's true. Chubby says, they should have asked old Hunty Poo if he used Epstein's girls. Ooh, if he was a business partner of Jeffrey or a competitor in the human trafficking business. Yeah, did you see that other one today? Apparently Menendez, Gold Bar Menendez, who took those gold bars from Egypt. First of all, he filed a response, and there's a redacted paragraph in there. He says, actually, those gold bars, you might know that I'm basically entitled to those if you only knew redacted. What does that mean? I don't know. So that's spicy. Was he working for the FBI or something like that? I was entitled to these because I was working as part of this op or wild. So we'll see. But turns out his ex or his wife, the woman that he was colluding with, got her a new car and all the stuff. She has a connection to Jeffrey Epstein. It's crazy. So we might see if we get into that tomorrow, but it's extremely incestuous. They're all connected together. So Menendez's wife, I think now, was it wife or girlfriend or lover, mistress, whatever, also has a connection to Epstein. It's crazy. This old guy's here says, once Hunter is officially held in contempt of Congress, I'll bet he won't be showing up to the Capitol building where he could deal with the House Sergeant at Arms. I don't know. I mean, it would require the Republicans actually doing something, like ordering him to be taken in, which I don't know that they'll do. I think that, because that didn't happen with Bannon or Navarro. So I think the other thing that would happen is they hold him in contempt, defer that over to the DOJ. Then what does the DOJ do? If they don't prosecute him, that's obviously going to be a massive double standard that we'll all be able to see. Facts Matter says, John Allen, our crack dealer, Hunter's crack dealer on our locals, he ought to sue Hunter for not properly recognizing his dealer and his fantastic crack. It's true. We have Hunter's crack dealer on our locals. John Allen is in charge. Barbs loves Alaska. Says, just my thought here. Hunter came late and left early because he could have been tested for drug usage as part of random requirements from a couple of months ago. Random testing. So they just got his number. Okay, you're blue. Okay, blue. If you're blue, you got to go report. He looked at this. Oh, it's blue. I got to go do my drug testing. It's good theory, Barbs loves Alaska. Nice to see you. Thanks for the dono. And thanks for being a membo over on Rumble. Kosh says, Engoron was a cabbie. That explains a lot. He actually drove people around? Amazing. I didn't know that. GEG says, thank you for your consistently stellar work. I understand that you have paused your legal work. Would you resume it for the right cause? I sense a wave of people needing legal defense soon. Yeah, I mean, have to, like, there's always that possibility. I'm still licensed. I still, maintain all my credentials and qualifications. It would have to be something. I'm always open to it, but it has to be the right, the right time, the right action, the right cause, because I do not want to be deviated from our work here. I truly think that we're practicing in the court of public opinion here. We are defending the principles of justice against the justice system. And so I want to make sure that we continue the work here. And if there was anything too big that deviated us from this work, I might not be able to do it. And there are a lot of other very, very amazing lawyers who are great lawyers who can do that. So I want to make sure we have the right people in the right seats. I think I'd be more interested maybe in partnering with somebody who was like an excellent, legal executioner, somebody who could go out there and like loves that stuff, because I really do love the work that we do here. And I think it's also very important. But it's a great question, Gag. Thanks for saying that and being over on Locals. Boopsies here says, don't you think that the Republicans look ridiculous with everything regarding Hunter? Like that presser right there. The media keeps winning. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. The Republicans are looking foolish. They look like fools. And the media is going to cover up. They're going to paper over this. They're going to say, well, Hunter showed up. He showed up. He showed up. Just like people still think Trump got indicted for insurrection. Like that is a myth. People still think that, but it's not true. So they'll just say Hunter showed up and Congress indicted him anyways. Ricky Sky says, Rob, please always refer to Fani as Big Fani, Robert. Thank you. It's a very nice request, Ricky. Sometimes I leave out the big part of it because I don't want to be too repetitive, but you're right. She is the biggest Fani, and it's really not appropriate to not honor her with that label. We've got Cowboy Rob says, actually, Fani's lover, his ex, she wants some of that Trump money. Like, that's $1 million, man. Give me some of that. Oh, attorney Ashley Merchant thank you for the correction, Fred, not Hutchinson. Name is Ashley Merchant is the attorney's name. Thank you for that. And yeah, that was a correction on my end. And this one came in from Mimi over on Locals. What's up, Mimi? Says, I really appreciate that you do great. And it's so important as it educates us all. And we were able to share it, which affects the understanding of those that we share it with. That's exactly right, Mimi. I'm extremely grateful that you're here. Obviously, love that. Thank you for the tip. Thanks for being a Locals member. But it is, I think, something that we are exposing. The reason we use the spotlight is to literally expose stuff that they want to hide in the dark. And I think that if more people could just see the truth of the mechanics behind the justice system, then I'm hopeful that they'll wake up and say, this is not actually justice. Okay, we have presumption of innocence. We have due process of the law. We have the right to counsel. We have the First Amendment. We have equal protections of the law. We have, all these very important things. And so we're going to stand here and defend those things because those are what are in alignment with actual justice. And so I think as we just show and create energy around the actual mechanics of it, I'm hopeful that people will see it and change their behavior accordingly. Vote for better candidates. And I don't want to lose sight of that. And I think this road that we're on together, my friends, is a long road. Like we're on year 1 of a long, beautiful journey together. And this energy is going to compound over the years. And there's going to be more exposure. The spotlight is going to get bigger, and we're going to shine it harder and brighter on all of this corruption. And we're hopeful that it gets exposed and people can see it. So thanks for saying that, Mimi. Thanks for being here. I'm super passionate about this work, and I appreciate that you are too. I think it's very important. We have to expose this stuff. Sunlight is the best disinfectant, as they say. Gloria B says, we definitely appreciate all that you do, Rob. Thank you, Gloria. Thanks for being a member on the tubes, and thanks for saying that. I appreciate you being a member. Like I said, wouldn't be able to do any of this without you. So thank you so much, Gloria. And Cowboy Rob says, I wonder if Hunty's ever been to the Epstein Island. It's a great question. It's a great question. And I think it would not surprise me at all if that was true, or, close proximity. Epstein was with a lot of people, and he had services that Hunter was a very big purveyor of. We got Knox says, oh, my bad on Merchant. Okay, yeah, no worries, Knox. It was close. And Robert, attorneys like me would never be able to keep up with everything without you and your review of all of this, saying you are doing legal work. Well, thanks for saying that, Knox. Yeah, I like to say, it's the court of public opinion. I'm not in the court of law anymore, but we're still making legal arguments. We're still doing defense work. I mean, right now it's like we're self-appointed public defenders for Trump, just making the case that the government has not met their burden of proof. We have the presumption of innocence. We have the beyond a reasonable doubt standard. The burden is on them, and they're not meeting it, and they're wrecking the justice system in order to do it. So thanks for saying that, Knox. I still like to call myself a lawyer, I still actually have a license, All right, so thank you for saying that, Knox. And let's see what's going on over on the X platform and see who's over there. GEG says, as a follow-up to my previous comment, you mentioned there are a lot of good attorneys out there. How do we find them? GEG, if you're looking for a specific referral, you can definitely email me. So if you're ever looking for a referral, email me, robert@spotlightlawyer.com. I have a fairly extensive network in Arizona, outside of Arizona. It depends on the states, but I know a bunch of people. So if I can help you find someone, I will definitely do that. And I actually also have some colleagues that have networking like entities. So they absolutely have Rolodexes of other good lawyers. So send me a link, send me an email, GEG. And if I can help you, I will. If I can't, I will forward you along to somebody who I think can. And especially if you're in Arizona, I know a bunch of good Arizona lawyers. So, and it depends on the type of case. Mostly criminal lawyers is what I know. All right, let's see who is joining us over on the X platform. And we love our friends on the X. And we got some Grim Reaper memes. And what's up? Okay, let's see who's here. Starting down here. We've got a lot of comments over here. Captain Caveman is here. Nebulous is here. Says, if you didn't see it, Rob, Christie dropped out of the race during the broadcast. Bye, Chris. Regarding Judge Areola, a motion for the host not to wear the tight, light-colored polo shirts. No, these shirts are not going anywhere. They're staying here forever. Yeah, sorry. Arthur Engoron already lost in the appeals court. He's going to nail Trump. Is there any recourse Trump can do afterwards? Yeah, I think just take it up to the next level court of appeals, ultimately to the New York Supreme Court, and then the U.S. Supreme Court. JB says, hell hath no fury as a woman scorned. Fani and Wade should have known. The X is blowing the lid off the whole thing. The X says, they went on vacations together. They went on cruises. JB says, the cocaine found in the White House had baking powder in it, which are two basic ingredients to cook crack. Ray says, being more skilled in carpentry, you, my friend, make all this legal stuff fun and understandable. Well, man, I love carpentry. That's been something that's been like, I have this vision of myself as like a 65-year-old man. It's like, what am I going to do when I'm 65? I don't know. You know what I really want? A wood shop. Yeah, a wood shop. And I don't know anything about carpentry. But it'd be fun to go and make a desk or something. I don't know. To learn how to do it. So shout out to carpentry. I think working with wood, I really enjoy working with my hands. I used to clean pools and build pools. I like to build things and watch stuff come to fruition. I even like Lego sets and stuff like that. I like to just watch things build. But carpentry, would be a fun one to dig into. So I love that. JB says, Hunter always loved to cook crack with Jasmine. Chairman Comer should have ordered the Capitol Police to seal the room. Chappaquiddick Drinkers here says, Rob, if Engoron says they displaced a jury trial for this circus, we should ask, can we borrow their jury? Keith Olbermann says, Hunter was right there, moron. The snub. Is this actual Keith Olbermann? It is. This weird dude commented on our X thread. That's amazing. So Keith Olbermann, I think, was fired from multiple shows because he's weird. And he usually has like spittle in the side of his mouth when he's like ranting about Trump. He's got massive TDS. Weird dude. He commented on our thread today. Hunter was right there, moron. The snub was from his beat up college girlfriend, Comer. What a weird comment from Keith Olbermann. Does anybody listen to him anymore? Tim Clifford says, exes can make people's lives miserable. What a weird twist. Trump wins the GA case because of an ex-wife and divorce. It sounds like it. Whole case is going to go away. David McComas says, create chaos, distract from the real truth. And we had some other comments from Darkside Digital. What's up, Darkside? Says Castro, who jumped onto the Republican presidential ticket and the proponent of several attempts to have Trump removed, has just been arrested for tax fraud. Interesting. That's curious. Take a look at that story. We got this one from James Pepper. Says Wall Street needs to move to Hoboken. Don't put any money in New York. Vientikis and Fred are joining us, Rob. I know a lot of attorneys. I think Lowell's a bad lawyer and keeps putting Hunter into very bad situations. I would say that ordinarily, but his dad's the president. So he has a whole separate line of attack, which is a presidential pardon, and his dad runs the DOJ. So when you have those tools in your back pocket, you can do a little bit more stuff with your legal strategy, right? Maddie Adams says Wade wanted his divorce sealed. The ex-wife blames Fani as the cause. The chat on the YouTube looks like it's working on our end. V says, I can't wait to turn these swords around. Fred says, these people are so morally superior and self-righteous. When karma arrives, it's just going to be delicious. And Danny McWilliams says, Rob, how long do you think it's going to take Judge Engoron to announce a verdict? I don't know. Couple days, maybe by Friday. It's probably already written. And so, my friends, those are our friends on x.com. And so if you want to follow us at Rob Govea ESQ is the address. We'd love to see you join us. We'd love to see you follow other watchers out there on the X platform. And then you can also respond to crazy Keith Olbermann, who's out there frothing it up at the mouth, spittle all over the place. Weird dude. He's also really close to the camera in his videos, like really close, like it's weird. Anyways, so my friends, that is it for us on the day. We are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members only after party. We would love to see you there. So come and join us. And we also do member streams in the morning. We do Saturday shows. And so we have a lot of fun with our members. We got a great community there. But before we wrap it up and exit, we want to say thank you to our mods and our meme smiths who mod down the fort for us and keep things nice and orderly. Vientikis says about Keith Olbermann is a national treasure. There's no bigger display of complacent jackassery. That's a good summary of him. Is he even a serious person? Like, what is he doing all day? I don't know. Vientikis Prime in the house. K Bean. We got Just Cause. Playing Hooky. Ronnie Cole. Zulu's in the house. Beyond Geo. Zach Nichols. Our friend John Allen. Hunter's Crack Dealer. Janek is here. Zach Nichols, I think I said. Dog Digger and Donut Mind Me. All in the house. Along with our meme smith. Geegum Geegum. Nathan N810. And Sleepy Dogly, all in the house. And so, my friends, that is it for us on the day. Watchingthewatchers.locals.com is where we're going right now. We would love to see you over there for the after party and the members only morning stream in the morning. But if we don't, that's all right. We're going to be back here tomorrow. It's going to be Thursday, and we need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. See you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.